She cleaned the floors of a powerful company every night, while quietly understanding every word spoken in Spanish, English, and Italian. One day, she gathered the courage to ask for a chance as a translator. They laughed. They mocked her. They told her to know her place. But hours later, a Spanish tycoon joined a call. And when the hired translator failed, the janitor spoke. What happened next would leave in shock. Stay tuned, because you are about to watch a beautiful story and find out what happened next. Hello family, welcome to Tales by King. Kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel for more beautiful stories. Thank you as you do so. Sit back, relax as we dive into the story. Every evening, when the tall glass building of Calderon Global began to empty, Lucia Moreno arrived quietly through the back door. The sun was usually setting, painting the sky orange and purple, but no one noticed her walking in. To most people, she was just the janitor. Lucia pushed her cleaning cart slowly down the long hallway. The wheels made a soft sound against the polished floor. Inside the cart were cleaning sprays, folded rags, and a small radio she never turned on. She preferred silence. She was 30 years old, slim, and gentle-looking. Her brown hair was always tied back neatly, and her face carried a calm seriousness, the kind that came from years of handling life alone. She wore the same blue uniform every day. It was clean but old, with her name stitched on the side, Lucia. Most workers passed her without a word. Some walked past as if she were invisible. Some talked over her head. Some did not even say, "Thank you," when she cleaned their offices. Lucia never complained. She had learned long ago that silence helped her survive. As she cleaned desks and wiped glass tables, Lucia listened. She did not listen to gossip or jokes. She listened to words, accents, and meanings. Through half-open doors, she heard business meetings in English. Through phone calls, she heard fast Spanish. Sometimes, she even heard Italian and French. And she understood them all. Lucia's mind worked quietly as she cleaned. While her hands wiped dust, her brain translated sentences without effort. She noticed mistakes. She caught confusion. She understood when people misunderstood each other. But she never spoke. Her story was hidden, just like her talent. Lucia grew up in a small town near the border. Her father, Mateo Moreno, was a language teacher. He believed words could change lives. When Lucia was young, he taught her languages as bedtime stories, English songs, Spanish poems, Italian phrases spoken with laughter. Language is power, her father used to say. If you can understand people, you can help them. When Lucia was 17, her father died suddenly. Everything changed. School became impossible. Money disappeared. Dreams were packed away. Lucia moved to the city and took the first job she could find, cleaning offices at night. But she never stopped learning. After long shifts, when her body was tired and her hands smelled of soap, Lucia returned to her small rented room. There, under a dim light, she opened old books. She watched free lessons online. She practiced pronunciation quietly so no one would hear her. Sometimes she translated news articles just for fun. Sometimes she imagined herself in meetings, speaking with confidence. Then she laughed softly at herself. "That life is not for someone like me," she would whisper. One evening, while cleaning near the executive floor, Lucia heard something that made her stop. A serious discussion. "A Spanish investor is coming," a man said. "Very powerful. Very demanding. We need a strong translator," another voice replied. "This deal is too important to fail." Lucia's heart beat faster. A Spanish investor. Her hands tightened around the cleaning cloth. For the first time in years, her quiet dream pushed forward. This is my chance," she whispered to herself. She looked down at her uniform, then at the glass offices shining above her. No one had ever asked her what she could do. But maybe, just maybe, it was time to speak. But speaking was not as easy as Lucia imagined. That night, she barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the shiny meeting room on the executive floor. She heard the words again. "A Spanish investor is coming. We need a strong translator." Her heart kept beating fast, like it was warning her and pushing her at the same time. Lucia sat up on her thin mattress and stared at the ceiling of her small room. The room smelled faintly of laundry soap. Her books were stacked neatly on one corner of the table. English grammar notes, Spanish idioms, and a small Italian dictionary with torn edges. She reached for her phone and opened a language app. She practiced a few phrases softly. Then she stopped. "What if I embarrass myself?" she whispered. "What if they laugh?" and I lose my job too. Lucia had no extra savings. No one was waiting to rescue her. If she lost her job, she could lose everything. Still, she remembered her father's voice. Language is power. That morning, Lucia woke early, even though she usually worked at night. She ironed her uniform carefully until the blue cloth looked sharp and clean. She tied her hair back neatly, the way she did when she wanted to feel strong. Then she stood in front of her small mirror. She looked tired, but her eyes looked determined. I will not beg, she told herself. I will only speak the truth. When Lucia arrived at Calderon Global, the building was already busy. Workers hurried in with coffee cups. High heels clicked on the floor. The lobby smelled like expensive perfume and polished marble. Lucia usually entered through the staff door and avoided attention. But today, she walked through the main entrance. Not because she wanted to show off, because she wanted to be seen as a person. She went straight to the elevator. Her hands were cold, even though the morning was warm. Her stomach felt tight as the elevator rose. Ding. The doors opened on the HR floor. Lucia stepped out and walked slowly toward the glass office that had human resources written on it. Inside, she could see 2 women and 1 man sitting around a table. They looked relaxed, chatting and laughing. Lucia took a deep breath and knocked. Come in, a voice called. She entered carefully and stood with her hands held together in front of her. The HR manager, Mrs. Pamela Voss, looked up first. She was a neat woman with perfect hair and a smooth smile. Her eyes moved down Lucia's uniform and stopped there, as if the uniform spoke louder than Lucia's face. Yes, Mrs. Voss asked. Lucia's throat felt dry, but she forced her voice to come out steady. Good morning, Lucia said. I heard there is a Spanish investor coming, and you need a translator. The room went quiet. The man at the table raised his eyebrows like he was trying to understand what he just heard. Lucia continued, her voice still soft but clear. I can translate, she said. Spanish to English and English to Spanish. For a few seconds, nobody spoke. Then the laughter came. Not loud laughter at first. Small, surprised chuckles. Then it grew. Mrs. Voss leaned back in her chair, like she had just heard a joke. You can translate? She repeated, smiling wide. Yes, Lucia answered. The other woman, a younger HR assistant named Kelly, covered her mouth as if she was trying not to laugh too hard. This is serious work, Kelly said. Not something you learn by watching movies. Lucia's cheeks warmed, but she did not look away. I didn't learn from movies, she said calmly. I studied. The man, Mr. Brett, shook his head as if he found it amusing. And where did you study? He asked. While mopping the floor. The laughter returned again. Lucia felt pain in her chest, but she kept her posture straight. I studied at home, she said. At night. After work. I practice every day. Mrs. Voss smiled again, but it was not a kind smile. It was the type that felt like a door closing. Lucia, she said, as if speaking to a child, you are a cleaner. Your job is important, yes, but it is not this. Lucia's fingers tightened together. I understand the investor will be angry if there are mistakes, Lucia said carefully. Spanish business language can be tricky. Some words have double meaning. Mrs. Voss gave a small laugh. Oh wow, she said. Now she's giving us lessons. Kelly leaned toward Mrs. Voss and whispered loudly enough for Lucia to hear. She doesn't know her place. Lucia swallowed hard. Her eyes burned a little, but she refused to cry. I'm not trying to cause trouble, Lucia said. I'm only asking for a chance. A short test. 5 minutes. Mr. Brett waved his hand like he was brushing away dust. This office is not a talent show, he said. Go back to your duties before you get yourself into trouble. The words hit Lucia like cold water. Mrs. Voss pointed gently toward the door. We appreciate your enthusiasm, she said. But this company hires professionals for professional roles. Lucia stood still for 1 second. Her whole body felt heavy. But she forced herself to nod politely. Yes, ma'am, she said. She turned and walked out of the office with slow steps, trying to keep her face calm. When the glass door closed behind her, the laughter inside started again, lower like gossip. Lucia moved down the hallway, and each step felt like it took strength. As she passed a large meeting room with glass walls, she saw executives inside pointing at documents. One of them noticed her. He leaned toward another person and said something. They both looked at her and smirked. Lucia's stomach twisted. She walked faster. She reached the staff elevator and stepped inside. When the doors closed, She finally released the breath she had been holding. Her eyes became watery, but she blinked hard. "Don't cry," she whispered to herself. "Not here." The elevator dropped to the lower floors. Lucia returned to her cleaning cart like nothing happened. She picked up a cloth and began to wipe a desk. But her hands were shaking slightly. Not because she was weak, because she had done something brave, and it hurt. Yet deep inside Lucia, something still refused to die. It was small. It was quiet. But it was there. Because even though they laughed, she knew the truth. She could do it. And soon life would force them to find out. Lucia kept cleaning like the building had not just broken her pride into small pieces. She wiped the same desk twice. She arranged pens that did not need arranging. She cleaned a glass table, so well it almost disappeared. But her mind was far away. The laughter from that HR office still echoed in her ears. She doesn't know her place. Lucia's chest tightened every time she remembered it. Still, she refused to let anger control her. She had learned something about life. Anger can make you loud, but it can also make you foolish. Lucia did not want to be loud. She wanted to be right. That afternoon, the office atmosphere changed suddenly, like a storm entering a peaceful sky. People began walking faster. Voices became sharp. Doors opened and closed quickly. A few employees held their phones tightly, whispering with worried faces. Lucia noticed it first because she noticed everything. She was mopping near the executive floor when she heard a man speak in panic behind a door. "He canceled," the voice said. "Our translator canceled last minute." Another voice snapped. "Are you joking? Ruiz is already waiting." Lucia's grip on the mop tightened. Ruiz. That name again. Her heart jumped. A few seconds later, the door of the meeting room opened wide. Two executives rushed out. One of them was the same man who had smirked at her earlier. His tie was loose, and his forehead was sweaty. "This is a disaster," he said. Behind him, Lucia heard a loud voice coming from the speaker inside the meeting room. The voice was deep, fast, and filled with frustration. Spanish poured out like fire. Lucia froze in place. She understood every word. She did not just understand the language, she understood the meaning behind it. The Spanish tycoon was not only angry. He felt insulted. His voice said clearly, "You invited me to speak about business, yet you send people who do not respect my language. Are you wasting my time?" Lucia's breath caught. Someone else tried to respond in broken Spanish. "Señor, we sorry, problem translator. We fix soon." The Spanish voice became even sharper. "This is unacceptable. I will end this call in 30 seconds. Lucia's heart pounded so hard it almost hurt. 30 seconds. Lucia looked down at her uniform again, then at the glass meeting room. This was her moment. But if she walked in, they might throw her out. They might fire her. They might call security. Lucia swallowed. Then she thought of her father. Language is power. If you can understand people, you can help them. She took one step forward, then another. She moved closer to the meeting room door, where it was slightly open. Through the gap, she could see the CEO and three executives sitting stiffly around a table. A laptop was open in front of them, showing a man's face on the screen, handsome, older, with sharp eyes and a rich office behind him. Alejandro Ruiz. He looked like someone used to being obeyed. Lucia heard the CEO whisper to his team. "Who speaks Spanish well enough?" the CEO asked. Nobody answered. They all looked at each other like trapped people. Another executive tried to speak into the laptop again, and his Spanish sounded worse than before. Lucia could see the tycoon's patience breaking. "Enough," Alejandro Ruiz said. "This is an embarrassment." The CEO's voice dropped into panic. "Sir, please 1 minute." Ruiz shook his head. "I do not do business with confusion," he said. "I do business with clarity." Lucia's mouth went dry. Clarity. That was what she could give. Without thinking too much, Lucia stepped forward and pushed the door a little wider. Her voice came out quietly, but it was clear. "He is not only angry," Lucia said. "He feels disrespected. And the contract clause you sent him has a translation error." Every head turned. The CEO stared at Lucia as if she had walked in holding lightning. "What?" the CEO asked. Lucia's hands trembled, but she stayed standing. "The clause about exclusive rights was translated in a way that sounds like you want to control his company," Lucia explained. "In Spanish, that wording sounds rude. That's why he is offended." The room went silent. The CEO blinked. One executive scoffed. "Why is she here?" But the CEO did not laugh. Because the CEO had heard something in Lucia's voice that was missing in everyone else's voice. Confidence. Understanding. Truth. Ruiz spoke again from the screen, in fast Spanish. Who said that? Who understood that? Lucia's heart jumped again. The CEO leaned forward, eyes sharp. Lucia, he said slowly. Do you speak Spanish? Yes, Lucia answered. An executive hissed. Sir, she's the janitor. Lucia's cheeks warmed, but she did not lower her eyes. The CEO didn't even look at the executive. He only looked at Lucia. We don't have time, the CEO said, voice tight. Can you translate right now? Lucia took a deep breath. Yes, she said. I can. The CEO turned to the laptop. Señor Ruiz, he said carefully. We had a translator issue, but we have someone here who can assist now. Ruiz leaned closer to his camera. His eyes narrowed. Who is she? Ruiz asked in Spanish. Lucia stepped forward, slowly, like someone walking into a test that could change her life. She looked at the screen, forced her voice to stay steady, and spoke in perfect Spanish. Buenas tardes, Señor Ruiz. Mi nombre es Lucia Moreno. Gracias por su tiempo. Permítame aclarar el punto del contrato para que todo sea transparent y respetuoso. The executives froze. The CEO's mouth opened slightly. Ruiz's face changed. The anger in his eyes paused, replaced by surprise. Then interest. He said slowly now. Finally, someone who speaks like a professional. Lucia's hands were still shaking, but her mind became calm. This was what she had been preparing for in silence for years. Ruiz started speaking again, still firm, but now willing to listen. Lucia translated smoothly, sentence by sentence. She didn't just translate words, she translated tone. She made sure the meaning stayed clear. She softened harshness without changing truth. She corrected confusing phrases politely. When Ruiz asked hard questions, Lucia answered with calm respect, and then translated the CEO's responses in strong, clean Spanish. In the room, the executives stared at Lucia like she had become a different person. Not the janitor. Not the cleaner. Something else. Someone else. After 15 minutes, the tension eased. Ruiz nodded. His voice became quieter. Better, he said. Now I can think. The CEO finally breathed again. The contract discussion continued, and for the first time since the call began, things started going well. At the end, Ruiz leaned back in his chair. He looked directly into the camera and said in Spanish, Lucia Moreno, is that correct? Yes, sir, Lucia answered. Ruiz's eyes held hers through the screen. You did not just translate, he said. You rescued this conversation. The CEO swallowed hard. One executive shifted uncomfortably. Ruiz continued, still looking serious. I have one question, he said. The room held its breath. Why? Ruiz asked slowly. Is a woman like you cleaning floors in a building like this? Lucia's throat tightened. She did not know what to say. The CEO looked at her, then at the executives, like reality had slapped him. Ruiz's voice came again, calm but powerful. Put her back on the call. I want to speak to her directly. And in that moment, Lucia understood something that made her heart shake. The people who laughed at her were about to regret it. The CEO's hand hovered over the laptop, as if he suddenly forgot how to breathe. The executives around the table looked stiff, like statues. The only sound in the room was the soft hum of the air conditioner, and Alejandro Ruiz's calm voice coming through the speakers. Put her back on the call, Ruiz repeated. I want to speak to her directly. The CEO cleared his throat. His face had lost its earlier pride. Now it was filled with nervous respect. Lucia, please, he said quietly. Lucia stepped closer to the laptop. Her knees felt weak, but she stood tall. Her uniform suddenly felt too loud in the room full of suits, but she did not shrink. Ruiz looked at her through the screen like he was reading her story from her eyes. Lucia Moreno, he said again slowly. How long have you worked here? Lucia swallowed. Almost 4 years, sir. And your title is what? Ruiz asked, though he already knew. Lucia's voice stayed steady. I am part of the cleaning staff. Ruiz's jaw tightened. Then he turned his gaze slightly toward the CEO, and his voice became firm again. Firm in a way that did not insult, but commanded. You are telling me, Ruiz said, that in this large company, with all your degrees and your managers, the only person who could speak to me properly was your janitor? The CEO's lips parted. No words came out at first. One executive tried to smile, as if to soften the moment. It failed. Ruiz continued. You almost lost this deal today. Not because of money. Not because of competition. Because of pride. Lucia felt her heart beat fast again. She had never seen powerful people spoken to like this. The CEO finally found his voice. "Señor Ruiz, we had no idea," he said quickly. Lucia never mentioned. Lucia spoke before she could stop herself. "I did mention it," she said, still polite. "I asked for a chance this morning." The room went dead silent. The CEO turned to Lucia sharply. "You did?" Lucia nodded once. "I went to HR." One executive's eyes widened. Another looked down at the table like the surface had suddenly become interesting. Ruiz's eyebrows lifted. "And what happened?" Ruiz asked Lucia in Spanish. Lucia could have lied. She could have made it sound lighter. But she did not want pity. She wanted truth. Lucia answered gently in Spanish. "They laughed, sir. They told me to go back to cleaning." Ruiz stared for a long moment. Then he turned his eyes back to the CEO. "That is your culture," Ruiz said. "You laugh at talent because it wears a uniform." The CEO's face turned red with shame. Ruiz leaned closer to the camera. "I will not partner with a company that humiliates its own people," he said. "So we will do this now. I want Lucia assigned as my translator for all meetings regarding this deal." The CEO opened his mouth. "Sir, she is not officially." Ruiz cut him off. "She is official," Ruiz said. "Because I say so. And because she saved your company today." The CEO swallowed hard. "Yes, sir." Ruiz looked back at Lucia. His voice softened slightly. "Lucia," he said, "do you want this role?" Lucia's throat tightened. She had dreamed of this moment, but now that it was here, it felt unreal, like a door in her mind had suddenly opened into a brighter world. "Yes," Lucia said quietly. "I want it very much." Ruiz nodded. "Good. Then listen carefully. Talent should never beg to be seen." Lucia's eyes stung, but she kept her face steady. Ruiz continued. "After this call, I want you to email me directly. I want your resume. And I want your story." Lucia blinked. "My story?" Ruiz's eyes were serious. "Yes. Because I want to know how someone with your skill ended up cleaning floors while weak translators sit in offices." Lucia breathed in slowly. "Yes, sir." The CEO cleared his throat again, now speaking with careful respect. "Señor Ruiz, we apologize," he said. "We will correct this immediately." Ruiz nodded once. "See that you do," he said. "And remember, if Lucia did not walk into that room today, this call would have ended. Your company would have lost my trust." Then Ruiz's expression softened just a little as he looked at Lucia. "You were brave," he told her in Spanish. "Bravery is rare." Lucia bowed her head slightly. "Thank you, sir." The call ended. The screen went dark. And for one long second, nobody moved. Lucia stood there, breathing slowly, trying to calm her racing heart. She expected someone to shout at her. She expected someone to ask, "How dare you?" Instead, the CEO stood up. He looked at Lucia as if he was seeing her for the first time. "Lucia," he said quietly, "why didn't we know?" Lucia met his eyes. Her voice stayed calm. "No one ever asked," she said. Those words landed like a heavy stone in the middle of the room. The CEO turned toward the executives. His voice became sharp. "Who handled translator staffing?" he demanded. Nobody answered fast. The executive who had smirked earlier cleared his throat. "We relied on HR, sir." The CEO's eyes narrowed. "Call HR. Now." Within minutes, Mrs. Pamela Voss arrived, still holding a folder, walking with the same confident posture as earlier. But the moment she stepped into the meeting room and saw Lucia standing beside the laptop, her smile froze. Her eyes flicked to Lucia's uniform, then to the CEO's serious face. "Sir," she asked. The CEO pointed at Lucia without hesitation. "Do you know who this is?" he asked. Mrs. Voss forced a polite smile. "Yes, Lucia. She's part of the cleaning team." The CEO's voice was cold. "She is now our translator for the Ruiz deal," he said. "Effective immediately." Mrs. Voss blinked as if she heard wrong. "Sir, with respect, she is not qualified." The CEO cut her off the same way Ruiz had cut him off. "She is qualified," the CEO said. "She just proved it in front of Alejandro Ruiz. In fact, she saved the deal you almost destroyed with your arrogance." Mrs. Voss's face turned pale. Lucia watched quietly, her hands still slightly trembling. The CEO continued. "Lucia told me she came to HR this morning. She asked for a test. What did you do?" Mrs. Voss's lips parted, but no clean answer came. She did not. "She did," Lucia said softly. Mrs. Voss turned to Lucia sharply, eyes hard. Lucia did not flinch. The CEO's voice became even stronger. If you humiliated her, he said, then you humiliated this company. And you embarrassed us in front of a global partner. Mrs. Voss swallowed. I didn't know. The CEO's eyes narrowed. You didn't care to know. A heavy silence filled the room. Then the CEO turned back to Lucia, his voice softer now. Lucia, he said, starting today, you will work with the Legal and International Relations team. You will be given proper pay for this role. Lucia's breath caught. Proper pay. Respect. A real seat at the table. She nodded slowly. Thank you, sir. But inside her chest, the feeling was not only happiness. It was something deeper. It was the feeling of finally being pulled out of a shadow she had lived in for years. As Lucia left the meeting room, she walked past the same hallway where she had once been ignored. People stared now. Some looked confused. Some looked shocked. One staff member whispered, "Is that the janitor?" Another whispered back, "She just translated for Ruiz." Lucia kept walking, calm on the outside, but inside, her heart was still shaking. Because she knew something powerful. This was not luck. This was preparation meeting opportunity. And this was only the beginning. Lucia returned to her cleaning cart, but she did not touch it. For a moment, she simply stood there in the supply room, staring at the shelves of soap and paper towels like she was seeing them for the last time. Her hands still trembled slightly. Her heart still beat like a drum. She had walked into that meeting room as a janitor. She had walked out as something else. But reality did not change all at once. It changed in steps. Lucia looked down at her uniform again. It felt heavier now, not because it was shameful, but because it was a reminder of how long she had been unseen. A knock came on the door. "Lucia," a voice called. Lucia turned quickly. It was Monica Reyes, one of the senior assistants from the International Relations team. Monica had always been polite to Lucia in the hallway, even when others ignored her. Monica stood there with a small smile and a folder in her hands. "Come," Monica said gently. "The CEO asked me to bring you upstairs." Lucia swallowed. "Upstairs now?" Monica nodded. "Yes. He wants to set things up properly." "And," Monica paused, eyes warm, "you did amazing in there." Lucia's throat tightened. She forced a small smile. "Thank you." As Lucia followed Monica to the elevator, people stared again. This time it felt different. It felt like Lucia had suddenly become a story everyone wanted to understand. Some stared with surprise. Some stared with shame. Some stared with envy. In the elevator, Monica spoke softly, almost like she did not want anyone else to hear. "I heard HR laughed at you," Monica said. Lucia kept her eyes forward. "It's fine." "No," Monica said firmly. "It's not fine. But I'm glad you didn't let it stop you." Lucia did not answer. She was afraid that if she spoke too much, her voice would crack. The elevator doors opened to the executive floor, a place Lucia used to enter only with a mop in her hand. Now she walked in with nothing but her courage. Monica led her into a smaller office next to the main boardroom. Inside, the CEO, Mr. Grant Calderon, sat with 2 legal staff members and a woman from payroll. Mr. Calderon stood up immediately when Lucia entered. "Lucia," he said, "please sit." Lucia hesitated for half a second, then sat carefully on the edge of the chair, like she did not want to take up too much space. Mr. Calderon placed a folder in front of her. "I owe you an apology," he said, his voice serious. "Not only for today. For years. You should have been noticed long ago." Lucia looked down at her hands. "Thank you, sir." He opened the folder. "This is a temporary contract," he explained. "It starts immediately. Translator and language support for the Ruiz deal and any other Spanish partners." Lucia's eyes widened as she read the paper. The pay was higher than anything she had ever earned. She blinked hard. "You will also receive back pay for the days you work in this role," the payroll woman added. "And your schedule will change. You will no longer be on night cleaning shifts." Lucia's heart squeezed. No more night shifts. No more waking up exhausted and hiding her dreams behind mops and rags. Mr. Calderon continued, "We will also pay for professional certification if you want it. Anything you need to make this official." Lucia nodded slowly. Her voice came out quiet. I will do my best." "I know you will," Mr. Calderon said. Then his eyes turned sharp for a moment, like a man making a decision. "One more thing," he said. "I want you to tell me the truth. How many languages do you speak? Lucia took a breath. Spanish and English, she said. Very well. Italian good. French basic, but improving. The legal staff exchanged looks. Mr. Calderon leaned back slowly. And HR didn't test you? He asked. Lucia shook her head once. No, sir. Mr. Calderon's jaw tightened. Understood, he said simply. The meeting ended quickly. Monica walked Lucia out with the folder in her hand like it was something precious. As they stepped into the hallway, Monica smiled again. Lucia, she said, your life just turned. Lucia let out a shaky breath. It doesn't feel real. Monica's smile softened. It will. That evening, Lucia went home earlier than usual. She entered her small room and stood still. For years, this room had been her hidden classroom. Now it felt like the beginning of a new life. She placed the folder on her bed, then sat beside it and stared. Then she laughed softly. Not because it was funny, but because her heart did not know how else to release all the emotion. Tears came next, sliding down her cheeks quietly. Not tears of weakness. Tears of relief. After a few minutes, Lucia wiped her face and picked up her phone. Ruiz had told her to email him directly. She did not have a fancy resume. She had no big company titles. But she had the truth. Lucia opened a blank email and typed, Good evening, Senor Ruiz. Thank you for today. My name is Lucia Moreno. I have worked at Calderon Global for almost 4 years. I learned languages from my father, and I have continued studying every day. I am ready to work hard and represent both sides with respect and clarity. She attached the best resume she could create, even if it looked simple. Then she pressed send. Her finger hovered for a moment, like she was afraid the email might vanish. But it was sent. A few minutes later, her phone buzzed. A reply. Lucia's breath caught as she opened it. It was short. Lucia. Thank you. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. Video call. Just you and me. Alejandro. Lucia stared at the screen. Just you and me. Why would a powerful Spanish tycoon want to speak to her alone? Her mind ran in circles. Maybe he wanted to test her more. Maybe he wanted to ask about the company. Maybe he didn't trust them and wanted the truth. Lucia held her phone tightly. She whispered, God, what is happening? The next morning, Lucia arrived at the office wearing simple office clothes Monica helped her choose. A neat blouse, a long skirt, and clean shoes. Her hair was tied back the same way, because she wanted to feel like herself. When she walked into the building, she felt eyes on her again. But she did not look down. She walked straight to the executive floor. Monica met her with a warm smile. You're early, Monica said. Lucia nodded. I didn't sleep much. Monica handed her a cup of water. Drink, Monica said. And remember, your gift brought you here. Lucia sat in a quiet office with a laptop ready. At exactly 9 a.m., the screen lit up. Alejandro Ruiz appeared. He was wearing a crisp suit. His hair was neatly styled. Behind him was a large office with warm lighting and a Spanish flag on one side. He looked directly into the camera. And for a moment, Lucia forgot how to breathe. Good morning, Lucia, he said in Spanish. Good morning, sir, Lucia replied. Ruiz smiled slightly, but his eyes stayed serious. I am not calling you to discuss the contract, he said. Lucia's heart jumped. Then why? She asked carefully. Ruiz leaned forward a little. Because, he said slowly, I want to know who you really are. Lucia swallowed. Ruiz continued, voice calm but powerful. In my world, people wear suits and pretend they are valuable, he said. But yesterday, the most valuable person in that room wore a cleaning uniform. Lucia's eyes stung again. Ruiz lifted a hand slightly. Tell me the truth, he said. Are you happy working there now, or are you only surviving? Lucia's throat tightened. That question went deeper than business. It touched her life, her pain, her dreams. And Lucia realized this was not only a second chance. It was a turning point that could change everything. She took a slow breath, ready to finally speak her full truth. And as she opened her mouth to answer, her phone buzzed again, this time with a new notification from HR. A message that made her stomach drop. Because it was clear. Someone was not happy Lucia had risen. Someone was already planning to pull her back down. That brings us to the end of this video. I hope you find this story worth watching. If you do, kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel for more beautiful stories, like, comment, and share this video to your friends and loved ones. Your support and engagement encourage me to post more videos. Thanks for watching.